What's good, my YouTube friends and family? Welcome back! And today we are here with a special kind of video. Now, I will be doing a movie review on both Sonic the Hedgehog 3 and Mufasa the Lion King. Now, I will be starting with Sonic the Hedgehog 3 first because out of both those movies, that's the one that I saw first, and then I went by myself to see Mufasa. So that being said, let's get right into the review. So if you excuse me, I'm going to change into something more accurate. Now, I just changed into my Shadow the Hedgehog t-shirt because this is the shirt that I had ordered for when I went to go see the movie. Now, with that being said, let's get into Sonic the Hedgehog 3. Now, I've already made a community tab rating the movie a 10 out of 10, but I actually wanted to do a real ranking and review on the actual movie itself. Now, there will be spoilers, so if you have not watched either Sonic 3 or Mufasa, I would suggest waiting until you see those movies and then come back here to join the review. But if you want to be spoiled, go right ahead, but just letting you know there's your final warning for spoilers. So 1, 2, 3. You've been warned. Let's get it. Now, the start of the movie kicked off with Shadow escaping from Prison Island and traveling to either Japan or Tokyo, wherever that was he was in. And then when we catch up with Sonic, Knuckles, and Tails, they were actually distracting Sonic so that way they could set up a little surprise birthday or birth Earth party because they're celebrating the day that Sonic actually came to Earth. And I thought that was a little sweet. And then we cut to a scene where Tom actually discovers the cave that Sonic was hiding in throughout the event of Sonic the Hedgehog 1 back in 2020. Now, that scene was a little bit sweet. And then we cut right back into Shadow's point of view in either Tokyo or Japan. And he realized that he's been trapped for 50 years. And then Gun was actually able to track him down, but then again, Shadow defeats Gun single-handedly. So then Team Sonic gets called, saying that there's a rogue alien attack somewhere in Japan or Tokyo. So they go and confront Shadow, and then they have a little chit-chatter, and Shadow's not having any of it, so he defeats Team Sonic handily, and he gets away on his motorcycle, and he actually grabs his gat or his gun, which was actually pretty cool. It wasn't a real gun, which I could see why, because the movie was probably rated PG or something, so they can't use a real gun, so they use like some sort of electric taser gun. So Sonic ignores Knuckles and Tails and goes off after Shadow alone, and they have this cool comeback as we saw in the trailer, kind of something like how in the poster right there, but a little more cooler, and it was nighttime, and Sonic actually ends up getting knocked out by Shadow and gets handcuffed to Tails' special handcuffs. So they go to meet up at this Chow Garden place where the head of the gun association, Commander Walters, just explains to Team Sonic how Shadow came to be and where he actually came from. Now, this is something that caught my eye in a strange way because in the original Sonic game and franchise, Shadow was created by Robotnik's grandfather, Gerald Robotnik, in a laboratory, while in the movie, Shadow came from outer space in a meteorite that completely came out of nowhere, had no context to, and that's how Shadow came to be. Now, when I saw that, I wasn't really thinking about that at the time, but as I kept seeing it more and more in my mind, I was like, that's not how it was supposed to be in the game. Like, honestly don't know why they did that. And they get attacked by Eggman's drones, and it actually ends up killing Commander Walters in the process, and he gives Sonic a key to a most powerful weapon that Gun has ever known, and that's when Commander Walters dies. And then Team Sonic escapes from Gun because one of the members of Gun thinks that it was Team Sonic who were responsible for killing Commander Walters. And I honestly don't know why Sonic and the others couldn't just explain to them what happened. But at the same time, I kind of understand what they were going from. So anyway, they meet up with Agent Stone and Robotnik, and they explain the situation. So they team up together to try to find out who is behind this hijacking of Eggman's drones. And then we cut back to Shadow at the abandoned gun headquarters where he first met his friend Maria. And I also didn't really like the way how they protruded Maria's death in the movie, considered the ones they've shown in the video games and Sonic X. But at the same time, if this is more of a children audience movie, then I could kind of see why they went to that direction. But I feel like they could have a little bit more darker and just went with the original way how she was supposed to die. But anyway, we see Shadow and Joe Robotnik teaming up to capture Sonic and Eggman and his crew. And then Eggman meets up with his grandfather. We get that little comedic scene between two Jim Carreys in one room. And after that, he decides to betray Sonic, which we honestly should have saw that one coming. Even I didn't see it coming. But anyway, Sonic gets the key that Commander Walters gave him. It was stolen by Shadow, and then he picks up this little marble thing, which is a black hole that'll suck up anything, in the entire facility of the base. So Sonic grabs one of Tails' rings to escape from the base, and then that's when the whole mountain base gets sucked up into that black hole. And then afterwards, they meet up. Sonic, Knuckles, and Tails meet up with Tom and Maddie back at their house. And I'm not gonna lie, the little hand puppet, little Tom guy, that was kind of out of nowhere. But anyway, they try to come up with a plan to break into Gun's headquarters to not only steal the key that Sonic stole from them, but to also steal the second key that also unlocks the same weapon that was created by Jiro Robotnik that was given to Gun. So they tried to, both Team Sonic and Eggman and his grandfather break into Gun headquarters in London, and they try to steal the key, and they end up getting trapped in this room. Well, also first we also get that little laser scene with Eggman and his grandfather. Well, before even all that, they also had this like little montage between Eggman and his grandfather doing a whole bunch of grandchild and grandfather fun time together, and that's where we get that whole Santa Claus scene with Eggman literally tackling the shit out of Santa Claus, which in the trailer I honestly thought that was funny as hell. I was like, how are they going to portray that in the movie? Well, here it is. So anyway, that's when we get the little laser scene in the laser room. And then, before even all that, Maddie suggested that why doesn't Sonic just use the Master Emerald to go supersonic and go after them. And they explained that the Master Emerald is guarded by a fierce warrior and should only be used for an event of a real emergency. And Knuckles is the only one out of the group who knows where it is and who it's being guarded by. So anyway, that's when we get the whole laser scene with Eggman and his grandfather. And that's when we get the scene where they all get trapped in a room with Sonic being dangling up above the ground and Eggman and his grandfather being forced down by gravity, which is basically a trap by that one employee that was loyal to Commander Walters before he died. And they find a way to break out, and then Tom disguised himself as Commander Walters to get the key back from the employee. And right as they were about to leave, Shadow comes up thinking that Tom is the real Commander Walters, and he knocks him out unconscious and steals the key. Then Sonic comes up from behind him and wonders what he's doing here. Then he notices that Tom is on the ground. And then when Shadow sees Sonic reacting to the way how Tom was knocked out, he has flashbacks of how he saw Maria was dead on the ground when she died. And that's when we get Sonic's traumatic line saying, "What did you do?" And then Shadow was like, "What I had to." And it just teleports out of there. So then Tom gets rushed to the hospital. And then Shadow, Eggman, and Gerald Robotnik escape on the new weapon. And then Agent Stone contacts Eggman saying, "I don't think your grandfather is truly what he says he is." And then he and Eggman doesn't believe what Agent Stone is saying. He thinks that he's jealous of his grandfather, and then so he blocks all contact with Agent Stone, and he feels a certain way. And then that's when we see Tom, Maddie rush to the hospital, leaving Sonic heartbroken by what has happened. So he decides to take matters into his own hands and tries to find the Master Emerald. But then again, Knuckles is the only one out of the group who knows where the Master Emerald is. So Sonic threatens Knuckles to fight him in order to find the Master Emerald. But then Knuckles gives in and gives him the location of the Master Emerald, which is being guarded by Wade. And this man, Wade, really used the damn Master Emeralds as a fucking hockey puck. Like, if you're gonna protect it, at least do a better job than using it as a damn hockey puck. Like, that thing probably fragile. Like, it could probably break in contact with all stone. But anyway, Sonic shows up, snatches the emerald away from Wade, saying, well, I tried to defend it. And then Sonic goes supersonic. And I honestly kind of like the idea of all 7 Chaos Emeralds combining into the Master Emerald, even though that's not how it was in the game. In the movie, I actually like that idea a little more. So then Sonic flies up into space to Space Colony Arc. That's where Eggman, Gerald Robotnik, and Shadow are starting up the machine to destroy the whole planet. But then that's when Gerald reveals his true intentions to Eggman. And he's like, what? Nah, instead of destroying the planet, why not rule it? And then Gerald's all like, nah, humankind is just a wasted experiment and they need to be punished for what they did to Maria. So that's when Sonic comes in anger, snatches Shadow, breaking windows through Space Colony Arc, and they find a way to patch up the windows automatically. And then that's when we get this epic showdown between Shadow and Sonic, where Shadow literally comes up from behind Sonic and does this type of move and punches the living shit out of Sonic, which ends up knocking the Chaos Emeralds out of him. So that's when we get this cool scene of Shadow and Sonic reaching for the Chaos Emeralds. And not only we got to see Super Sonic again, but we also got to see fucking Super Shadow in this bitch. And for some reason, after the movie was over, people were doing YouTube shorts and revealing stuff about the movie, and they kept calling Super Shadow's yellow form white. When he goes Super Shadow, his fur is not white. It's just a lighter version of yellow compared to Sonic. Like, hold on. Alright, so here, for example, this is normal Super Sonic right here, and this is Super Shadow. It's basically just a lighter yellow form compared to Sonic's super form. So it's not white, it's a little bit lighter yellow. So anyway, besides that, we get this epic fight scene between both Super Sonic and Super Shadow, and then we get this unexpected part where Robotnik literally uppercunches his grandfather's throat and thwarts his evil plans. And we cut back to Sonic and Shadow fighting again, and he mocks Sonic about saying, why are you alone, where are your friends, and all that stuff, and here I thought you cared for them, you're not really the hero here. And that enrages Sonic a little more, and he punches Shadow to the damn moon, where Shadow actually ends up losing a little bit of his super shadow powers. And then Sonic catches up, and Shadow is like, go ahead, finish me, what are you waiting for, I'm right here. And that's the moment when Sonic realizes that he's doing the wrong choice and this is not who he really is. So then they have this deep little conversation, and then with a few words, Sonic and Shadow actually ends up teaming up together. Like, they literally grab hands like this, and that's when the Chaos Emeralds come back to play, and they all go to doing their super forms, and they try to stop Space Colony Arc from hitting the Earth. And then that's when Eggman was like, Gerald Robotnik was like, oh, Shadow. And here, once you were so used, I forgot what he said, but basically he sends a whole bunch of robots to distract Sonic and Shadow, and they easily defeat the robots. And that's where we get this cool, epic image of Shadow and Sonic flying into space, defeating all these robots one by one. And then uh, Tails and Knuckles managed to get up to Space Colony Arc on time before Gerald Robotnik could throw Eggman out into space. And then that's when they save Eggman. And then Eggman takes one of Sonic's quills and pokes it at Gerald Robotnik's ass, and he just goes flying off to the distance, and where that space that Shadow is running on the ceiling ends up zapping him like a bug zapper. And then they realize it's too late to try and stop the laser from hitting Earth, but they said that they could at least try to move it away from the Earth. And that's when we get the whole scene with Eggman pissed on the moon. And he literally said, "What did you do?" Yeah, I was like, what the hell? But then, there's another situation which I forgot how. Oh yeah, the system was overloading, and it was the whole space colony thing was gonna explode or anything. It was gonna explode, and then Eggman and Shadow decided to work together, and Sonic was knocked out during the fight, so Tails tries to go in to save Sonic, but then he gets knocked out from the atmosphere as well. So then Knuckles comes in, snatches the ring, and throws it, and then they both Sonic, Tails, and Knuckles end up landing in some sort of field or something, while Shadow and Eggman tries to move the Space Colony Arc away from Earth. And while doing that, Eggman gives his final goodbyes to Agent Stone, saying, "You're more than just an apprentice to me. You're more of a friend. I'll always miss your lattes with steamed Austrian goat milk. I love the way you make them." And then that's when the whole thing explodes. And that's when Sonic apologizes to Knuckles and Tails for abandoning them. And they all have a happy ending. And then that's where we get the end credits scene with another race, like how it is in the beginning of the movie. And then we get up another race with Sonic ending up in somewhere in New York City. Well, not New York City. The sign said New York, but anyway, that's when something sneaks up behind him, and it's actually Metal Sonic. Fucking Metal Sonic. I had so many questions, like, how did he get here? Who made him? Was Agent Stone having something to do with this? But then Sonic ends up getting ambushed by maybe 20 or maybe even 30 versions of Metal Sonic, only to be saved by none other than Amy Rose with her hammer. And then that's where the majority of the movie cuts off to. And then towards the very, very end of the movie, we get to see one of Shadow's gold rings that are on his wrist, like his wrist rings, buried. Well, not buried, but it was like in a crater somewhere on Earth. That's where we get to see Shadow pick up his ring and put it back on, and that's where the movie ends. So that Sonic movie blew my mind. I would have to say, honestly, this is how I would rate all the Sonic movies. Number 1 is Sonic 3. Number 2 is Sonic 2. And number 1 is Sonic... Number 3 is Sonic 1. 2 is Sonic 2. And number 1 is Sonic 3. So, yeah. There were some things that could have been changed. Like, again, I don't really like the way how they portrayed Shadow coming from a crater rather than being created by Gerald Robotnik himself. Even though he was involved in the project and was the head leader of the project, at the same time, why didn't they just follow like how they did in the game? So, yeah. There's not really much to say about that. Although I am looking forward to seeing Sonic the Hedgehog 4 that's coming in theaters on March 19th, 2027. So that being said, let's go ahead and move on to Mufasa the Lion King. Now, this is interesting because when I first saw the very first teaser trailer that they released for Mufasa back in April of 2024, I saw that trailer thinking, like, this movie is not going to be very good. Like, it kind of had my interest, but at the same time, not really. But that's when the second trailer dropped in August of 2024. And now that trailer actually showed a little bit more information on the movie. And I was like, okay, wow. It actually caught my interest. And the music sounds pretty good. And that's where I saw the white lines. I was like, whoa. I was like, nah, now I gotta see this movie. And when I went to see this movie, this is the very first time I ever went to a movie theaters by myself. I'm talking pay for the tickets, pay for the popcorn, everything by myself. So anyway, the movie starts off with a tremendous applause to Disney for doing this, for doing a tribute to the actor James Earl Jones passing away. For those of you who don't know, James Earl Jones did the classic voice of Mufasa from the Lion King movies, Darth Vader for Star Wars. He was in a whole bunch of other stuff, and he had recently passed away on September 9th, 2024. So rest in peace to James Earl Jones. And I like how Disney portrayed to do that at the beginning of the movie. So anyway, it starts off with Simba giving the speech, how wonderful it is that him and Nala get to continue Mufasa's dream and fulfilling the circle of life. And then we get Nala finding a little cave in the forest or something where she's waiting for Simba. And then Simba tells Timon and Pumbaa to babysit his daughter Kiara while he's away for a few hours, or who knows how long he was gone for. And that's when we get to see Kiara for the first time. Now, I want to say Kiara's design in this movie was okay, but the one thing I did not like is the fact they gave her blue eyes. Like, I know that at the same time, you know what? Why couldn't they have just given her red eyes like how they did in Lion King 2, Simba's Pride? Like, she's never had blue eyes. And I've seen fan art of Kiara with blue eyes, and it just really looks like a younger version of Nala, but with more of a darker tone to her skin. So that's when Simba leaves, and then Timon and Pumbaa tell Kiara a fake story of how they defeated Scar instead of Simba, and they literally called Simba a pathological liar. And that's when the storm comes in, and Kiara and Timon hide in fear, and then Pumbaa suggests that they sing to her, and Timon's like, nah, it's way too early for the song, and they have a whole argument. That's when Rafiki comes in to comfort Kiara, tells her a bunch of stuff, and then Kiara says something along the lines of, I can never be like my dad, and I can never be like brave like Mufasa. And that's when Rafiki begins to tell Kiara the story of her grandfather Mufasa. And that's when Rafiki blows the dust into his hand, and we get the whole title screen and everything. And then we see a dried, barren wasteland. And then we see Mufasa and his parents, and they're telling Mufasa of a wonderful place called Malele. And that's where we get the Malele song. And that song was actually kind of good, not gonna lie. And when I heard Mufasa's father's voice, I was like, wait, I know that voice anywhere. That's Keith David, who also voiced Husk in Hazbin Hotel. He also does King Andrias in Amphibia, and Dr. Facilier in Princess and the Frog. He's in a whole bunch of other stuff. So I was surprised to see Keith David in Mufasa. So anyway, the Malele song ends, and that's where we see Mufasa experience rain for like the first time in forever. And that's when all these animals gather up at this nearby watering hole to share the water. But then the water rushes in like a flood. Yeah, so a flood happens, and Mufasa is almost drowning. So his father and mother trying to go in to save him, and then they're next to this dam. And so Mufasa tries to climb up the walls of the dam to get to his mother, while his father is still in the pond trying to find a way to get to them as well. And during the process, an elephant, like this is the dam and this is the elephant gets swept into the stream and hits the dam, sends Mufasa flying away from his parents. And his mom survived, but I think the father might have been crushed by the elephant on accident. So that's when Mufasa gets swept away from his parents, and that's when he actually meets Taka, aka the future Scar. And that's when Taka was like, you're about to be eaten. And then that's when he saves Mufasa from the crocodiles. Well, he didn't really do it on his own. His mother, Eshe, saved them as well. And then he tried to take Mufasa in, but he was like, no, Obasi, your father, will never accept the stray. But then Mufasa was like, I'm not a stray, I'm just lost. And Eshe has a warm heart and decides to adopt Mufasa. But when they get to their home, King Obasi doesn't want to accept Mufasa into their pride, and he wants him to be taken care of, like eaten. So he tries to tell Mufasa to run for his life, and Mufasa was like, if I run, you'll never catch me. I'm the fastest cub that ever lived. My father told me so. And he was like, oh, Taka, looks like you have a challenge. So Taka and Mufasa have a race from where they are to a dead white tree. And the deal was that if Mufasa lost the race, his father, or Taka's father, would kill and eat Mufasa. But if Mufasa were to win, he would get to live and stay with Eshe and the others. And then they have the race, but then Taka's dad cheats at the race by making Mufasa trip, and he says, clumsy little stray. And then he also says that Taka is the future king. He has to win his first challenge. And Eshe is like, no, to be a true king, he must earn it. Don't take that away from him. And then, right as they get to the tree, and then they race back. And then as they were racing, Taka says to Mufasa, I have one more secret. I always wanted a brother. And that's when he actually let Mufasa win the race, so that way he could be able to live and actually get to have a brother. So that's 2 times Taka, aka Scar, has saved Mufasa. So then Obasi was like, you will keep him with the females, and he shames Taka for losing to a stray. And then that's where we get the classic song, I Always Wanted a Brother. Now, that song has to be my #1 favorite song out of the whole movie. Like, there's a few other good songs, but I Always Wanted a Brother hit different. And some people said the song was cringe, but I say people have their opinions, but in my opinion, I Always Wanted a Brother is a good song. So towards the end of the song, we get a time jump between young and teenage versions of Taka and Mufasa. Well, I wouldn't really say teenagers, but more like young adults. So anyway, they rush back home to Taka's tree, and Obasi was like, this stray is forbidden to be near the shade tree. Now go back to the females and stay away from my son. And that's when Taka's dad tells Taka, saying that one day you'll be betrayed by him, because that is what strays do. And he's like, this will be yours, and you will be king. Now just pay attention and study every move that I do. And he goes sleeping, and he says, that's what males do. We protect the pride as we nap. Like, that honestly makes no sense, but at the same time, that makes a lot more sense for Scar's character, because Scar, when he became king of the Pride Lands, he was not really a good ruler. Now we understand why he was never a good ruler, because he was never taught the right ways of a king. Meanwhile, Eshe goes and teaches Mufasa how to hunt, and then Mufasa tells Eshe something like, sometimes I get a scent, it's barely a trace on the wind, it smells like home, then it's gone. And that's when Eshe says, your parents might still be out there somewhere looking for you. But then Mufasa assures Eshe that his parents were probably swept away by the flood as well. And he was like, maybe I like being a stray or whatever. And so he says, I'm lucky I'm not Taka, because then I'll have to be king. And that's when Taka is actually spying on his mom and Mufasa's conversation. And then it cuts back to Rafiki, Timon, Pumbaa, and Kiara. And this happens throughout the parts of the movie. And then we cut back to the story as Eshe and Mufasa were hunting. 2 other white lions, or outsiders, were hunting them as well, while secretly Taka was watching in the background. And so the white lions attack Eshe and Mufasa, and then Taka tries to run in, but gets hit by one of the either gazelles or antelope, whoever they were. He gets hit by one of them, and he sees the fight. Meanwhile, Eshe also spots Taka in the distance, and Taka's shook and frightened, so he runs off back home. And then Mufasa ends up defeating and killing one of the white lions and scares the other one away. And then they go back home, and then Eshe tells Obasi what happened and that Taka was there and everything. And Obasi goes to Mufasa, was like, I owe you a great debt, Mufasa. And then he warns the pride. Mufasa warns the pride, saying, we need to prepare. They'll be coming for us. They're downwind, less than a day away. Because Mufasa has like this super sense where if he concentrates and closes his eyes, and then he could actually see and hear very, very far away. So then he Obasi sends a scout to see if Mufasa was right. And then we get to the scene where all the white lions are hanging out. And that's where we get to see the main villain of the story, Kyros. Either Kyros or Kairos, or however you want to say it. So then he's like, where's my son, to the other white lion that was attacking Mufasa earlier. And he was like, there was another lion, I had to run away. And he is upset that he left his son to die. So he said, there's no reason to fear me. I would never hurt one of my own. And the other lion gets a sigh of relief. But the twist is that Kiro said, I'll leave that pleasure to the females. And then that's when we get this sky scene of the white female lion circling around the male lion that left Kiros' son to die in the hands of Mufasa. And then we get this scene where Obasi and Taka were chatting about Taka running away from his mother. And Obasi was like, we must protect the bloodline. And Taka was like, protect them with a lie? That's deceitful. And his father says, deceit is the tool of a great king. And Taka surprisingly said, but I'm not a king. I'm just your son. And that's when the scout comes back and tells Obasi the news. And he says that he needs to protect the bloodline, the future of this pride. And then that's when he sends Taka and Mufasa away to start a new life and a new kingdom. And Mufasa was supposed to go with him to pledge his loyalty. And the scout was like, they'll arrive with the sunrise. And we cut to the next scene where Eshe and Obasi were saying goodbye to Taka and Mufasa. And then Eshe was telling Mufasa to go to Malele because that's where his mother might wait for him. And then she also talks to her son Taka, saying, Taka, your moment of courage will come. There's no need for forgiveness. I forgive you no matter what. So that's when Mufasa and Taka leave the pride. And then we cut back to Timon and Pumbaa, interrupting the story again. Like, that's one of the things I didn't really like about this movie, how Timon and Pumbaa kept interrupting the main plot of the story with their jabber and yapping and everything. So we cut back to the main story, where we get the scene where the outsiders came to attack Taka's pride, and that's where we get the bye-bye song sang by Kyros and his pride. And honestly, when I left the theater, that song was stuck in my head. It was like, there you go, bye-bye. So anyway, we cut to another scene where Taka thinks that what if Mufasa was wrong and everyone else is okay? And Mufasa assures that they live in him now. So as they're running away, the white lions soon start to catch up to them. And that's when we get this scene where the white lions are chasing Mufasa and Taka to a nearby waterfall. And Mufasa suggests that they fight since they're right at the edge of the waterfall. Meanwhile, Taka thinks that they should literally jump. But as the white lions close in, Taka pushes Mufasa off the edge and they both land in the water below. And meanwhile, they grab onto a nearby branch. One of the other female white lions jumps down after them. And as she's swimming towards them, she gets snatched up and eaten up by a damn crocodile or alligator while Mufasa and Taka got away. And then we cut back to Timon and Pumbaa, Kiara again, and interrupting the story. And then we get back to the main story again with Taka telling Mufasa that I saved your hide again 3 times. So that's 3 times Taka has saved Mufasa. So then they get the sense that they're being followed by another stranger. So that's where Mufasa and Taka meet Sarabi and Zazu for the first time. And then right after that, we get the scene where we also get to see Rafiki and his fleet of monkeys for the first time. And they're talking about like stuff like, we should banish Rafiki because he's weird and always talks to the spirits and everything. And they all banish Rafiki. And then so excuse me. So anyway, Rafiki walks off into the distance where he was minding his own business, and all of a sudden he is approached by Mufasa, but Rafiki's not threatened. He said, and walks off. Damn. So then Rafiki was like, if you take my life, you will never find Malele. And then Mufasa was like, all right, you know what, help us get to Malele and we will let you live. And Rafiki said, no. Mufasa was like, why? And he said, Rafiki will let you live. And that's when Taka said, I've had enough of this. And Mufasa says, Taka, don't eat him. And he's like, ah, wonderful. Another misfit stray that we're not supposed to eat. So then we get this scene with Mufasa and Rafiki having a conversation. And Mufasa's like, no offense, but a monkey is a monkey. And Rafiki makes a comeback saying, a stray is a stray. And Mufasa's like, what's that supposed to mean? And that's where the scene continues. And then Zazu comes in with a morning report saying, it's morning. And that end of report. And all that stuff. And then we cut to a gorge where they had a decision where they wanted to stay up at the gorge or they had to go down. And Rafiki was like, the decision is yours. And Mufasa suggests that they go down because it'll keep their sense on a low profile. So then he tells Sarabi to do the same thing, like cover your eyes and tell me what you hear and what you see. So then she does that, and she actually sensed the white lions coming up, and they're like, yeah, you're right, we gotta go down. And that's when we get the song called We Go Together. And not gonna lie, that song is also very catchy, but not more catchier than I Always Wanted a Brother. So then we get this scene where Tako's coming to Mufasa for help because he actually kind of liked Sarabi, and he's like, oh, Mufasa, I need help. So it's Sarabi. She's the light my mother spoke of. She's the one. She needs to be my queen. Tell me what to say to her. So he actually asks Mufasa for dating advice, and he says, just try to be yourself. And Tako's like, you don't understand. Myself isn't good enough. You're just, like, good at everything. And he says, just keep it calm and ask questions like other stuff. So then he tells Taka about these certain kinds of flowers that he can smell on Sarabi, which are called duck flowers. And I don't even know those are real flowers. So he says, all right, I got you, brother. And then he also says, listen when she's talking. And he's like, I'm sorry, what were you saying? But then he's joking, saying that he heard them everything. So he goes to flirt and talk with Sarabi. And not gonna lie, that scene in the movie was kind of cringe. I was like, oh no. And this one part where Taka said, you smell like a duck. I was like, oh no. I was like, no, he fucked up. And then he ends up fixing his mistake by saying he meant to say the word flowers after that. And it cuts to Mufasa and Rafiki saying, well, Mufasa says, did he just say that she smells like a duck? And Rafiki's like, and you call me a baboon. And after that, we get this scene where they get out of the gorge, and then they see a whole entire fleet of elephants with an elephant migration or something like that. Meanwhile, the white lions are on the other side of the gorge, leaping across pillar by pillar, trying to catch up to them. And Mufasa says that we should ask the elephants to fight with us. Meanwhile, Sarabi's like, no other animal will fight with us because we're lions. So then Sarabi gets an idea because she sees a nearby tree that has a beehive. And then she smacks the beehive, causing an elephant stampede. While the white lions are on the same platform as they are, some of the white lions get trampled and stumbled upon the elephant stampede. As they're retreating, the tree that Sarabi hit the beehive off of, she's hanging off of a branch, and then she ends up falling down. She survives, but then ends up getting knocked down by one of the elephant's trunks. And then Mufasa comes in to save her and pulls her into a small ravine. Well, not a ravine, but it was like a small ditch. And he was like covering up Sarabi, saying, I got you, Sarabi, I got you. And then the stampede ends, and Rafiki falls off of a tree, where that's the scene where he actually finds his signature staff that we see him with throughout the entire Lion King franchise. And I kind of wished we had gotten a more better story of how Rafiki got his staff, because that doesn't seem very magical. Because if you don't know, in the Lion Guard, Rafiki's staff has a power that when he taps paintings on cave walls, it can actually make them come to life. And that was like really cool. So no normal stick can really do that. So anyway, besides all that, they go to Sarabi, and Rafiki tries to heal Sarabi and wake her up. And she ends up waking up, and she's like, what happened? And then Rafiki says, you were thrown from the tree. He saved your life. But then Sarabi is unsure of who saved her life. And then Mufasa gives Taka the credit for saving her. And then she really wasn't that flat or anything. She just said, you saved me? And then Taka was like, well, I had to do something. Well, Rafiki gave a confusing face, like, and then Sarabi just said, thank you. And then they have a whole argument. Sarabi and Mufasa have an argument saying, the elephants would have fought with us. And then Sarabi is like, no, we're lions. Nobody will fight with us. Meanwhile, Rafiki just walks in between them and just keeps walking towards the distance. And that's when they follow them. And that's when they end up on the snowy mountain where Mufasa wonders, or no, Sarabi wonders, the lions will probably see our tracks in the snow. So that's when Mufasa comes up with the idea of telling Zazu to use his wings to cover up the tracks as they go up the mountain without leaving a trace. So then he does that, and then the Mufasa and the others are on top of the mountain, while the white lions and stuff are down there trying to find out how they were able to cover up their tracks in the snow. And then Sarabi praises Mufasa for that wonderful idea, and then Taka is sort of jealous, which he shouldn't get jealous because that wasn't Mufasa's fault. She was just crediting Mufasa for the idea. And then, yeah, that's the one part I kind of didn't really understand why Taka was jealous. Like, I get that he likes her and everything, but at the same time, you can't really blame Mufasa for that. Sorry. So anyway, Rafiki plays in the snow, trying to make a snow angel, and Mufasa says to Rafiki, I got you, Rafiki, I got you. And that's when Sarabi notices the words that Mufasa said, and then she catches on, and she realizes that it was Mufasa who saved her from the elephant stampede, not Taka. So then, Mufasa and Sarabi have this scene where Sarabi confesses Mufasa, saying, I know it was you. And that's when we get this song called Tell Me It's You, between Mufasa and Sarabi. It's basically kind of like a little love duet. And then after the song's over, we cut up to the mountain peak where Mufasa and Sarabi are being watched by Taka. And we get this second song in one called Brother Betrayed, where Taka goes on singing how he feels betrayed by Mufasa, which that's actually my favorite song. But at the same time, he didn't really betray you. Like I like Scar and Taka. Well, Taka is Scar, but at the same time, like, it's over a girl. Like, I'm guessing he's never heard the expression bros before hoes. Like, you're really gonna let a girl take over your brotherhood? Like, it's a whole thing. But anyway, after the song's over, well, towards the ending of the song, Taka is accidentally fallen off of the icy cliff where he ends up near the white lions, and he gets hearings from his father saying deceit is a tool of a great king. So Taka actually teams up with the white lions, saying that it was Mufasa who killed your son, who trapped you up here, outsmarted you at every turn, but I will lead you to him and Malele. And then they have this agreement that Taka will lead tracks for Kiros and his white lions to follow. Meanwhile, the next day comes, and Taka comes up next to Mufasa, Sarabi, and the others, and he was like, I was out hunting, but I couldn't find anything. I'm not as good as a hunter as you are. And that's when they head down the mountain peaks while Taka leaves a trail of scars on a bunch of rocks for Kiros and them to follow. And finally, they reach Malele, and they all settle in. Rafiki goes to the tree that he normally lives in, while other animals in Malele comes up to them saying, we know who you are, and we fear that you'll bring a danger to us because we know the outsiders are hunting you. But Mufasa assures them that they cover their tracks and there's no way they'll be followed. Meanwhile, just after that, a loudly lion roar appeared from behind them, and it was Kiros and his other white lions. And Mufasa was like, how did they even get here? So then Mufasa wants to fight Kiros, while Sarabi actually does what Mufasa does and tells the get other lionesses to safety and tries to convince others to fight. Then Mufasa gives something to Rafiki saying, when you hear my signal, get everyone together. And that's when Mufasa goes up to Kiros, and Kiros like, this is where the hunt ends. Thanks to your brother, he left a trail of scars for us to follow. So he basically calls out Taka on his plans, and Mufasa was like, tell me he's lying. He asked us to kill this stray, because that's what Kiro said. Hold on, this is what Kiro said. He basically said, thanks to your brother, he left a trail of scars for us to follow. He made a deal to save himself. He gave us this kingdom, asked us to kill the stray. And then Mufasa was like, tell me he's lying. Taka, please. And then Taka says, I'm the son of a king, but Sarabi chose you, just like mother, just like my own father. I saved you, and you betrayed me. So then Mufasa felt betrayed, and then Taka just goes up behind Kiros, watching the action go down. And Mufasa was able to lose Kiros and leave him in a small ditch of water. And that's when he goes off and tells the other animals of Malele to fight alongside him. This is not just my fight, this is all of our fights as well. Well, no, the other animals are like, but this is your fight. But then Mufasa goes, I will not bend to evil, and neither should you. This is our home, we must defend it. And that's when the other animals fight against Kiros' white lion pride. And that's when Kiros and some other lions in his pride surround Mufasa, which cause him to fall in a cave down below. That's when Kiros secretly sneaks up behind Mufasa in the same cave behind a small waterfall, and they end up fighting each other, and Mufasa is a little tired and pinned to the ground. And that's when Taka, secretly watching from another entrance to that same part of the cave, he watches and he realizes that what he's done was wrong, and he gets flashbacks of them when they were cubs, and he hears his mother's voice saying, Taka, your moment of courage will come. So then, right as Kiros is about to swoop down on his paw to kill Mufasa, Taka jumps in the attack and gets hit on his left eye, which actually gives him the signature scar on his face. And he goes and says, please don't kill him. But Kiros says, I didn't kill him, you did. So that's when Taka and Mufasa join forces to team up together to kill Kiros and defeat him. But then Taka, he barely tries to fight at all. He throws it a little punches, but he gets thrown to the side by Kiros. And then that's when I'm guessing Rafiki was the one that done this. He caused the earth to shake and rocks to tremble, which actually creates the platform of that mountain that the lions were standing on. That was actually the formation of Pride Rock. So then the rock comes down and makes the iconic home of the lions, Pride Rock. Now, when I first saw that, I was like, ain't no way. As a Lion King fan, this is one thing I was really not expecting to see, how Pride Rock was actually created. So then Pride Rock is right here, and then the cave that Mufasa, Taka, and Kiros are in, like, are far, like, right there. And then during the earthshake, a rock comes in down on them, which causes Mufasa and Kiros inside of a hidden lake, while Taka hangs on to a nearby branch or something to save himself. So then in the water, Mufasa and Kiros are fighting for their lives, while another boulder secretly falls into the lake. And then Mufasa sees the boulder, and then as he's fighting Kiros, he pushes Kiros in the path of the boulder, where the boulder falls directly on Kiros, causing him to fall at the bottom of the lake and drowns him. And as Mufasa swims up, as he's about to head to the surface, he almost swims back down again, but then he's grabbed by Taka, who hesitates for a good minute, and then he realizes that he needs to save Mufasa. So this is the 5th time that he has saved Mufasa. One time when they were at the crocodile attack at the beginning of the movie, the race for Mufasa to live at the waterfall where they were about to get killed by the white lions, again with the white lions where Taka got his scar, and the 5th time when he saved Mufasa from drowning again. And as he saves Mufasa from drowning, Sarabi comes into the cave to wonder what happened, and then Taka just walks out of the cave, gives Sarabi a sad look, and Sarabi and Mufasa walk out of the cave. And as that happens, the animals of Malele gather up and saying Mufasa is the king of Malele. But Mufasa refuses to take title of king. But Rafiki is like, don't you see, you brought them together. Nothing's more kingly than that. And it's not what you were, it's what you have become. And then that's when Rafiki says, something beautiful awaits you. And then he realizes the scent in the air, and that's the scent of his mother. And they have this whole moment where they're reunited together. And he was like, but wait, where's father? And Mufasa's mom was like, he lives in you now. I always dreamt of this moment that we would be together. And I knew it would be here in Malele. So then that's after that, we get this scene where Taka comes in and then he's like, Mufasa, please forgive me. And Zazu is like, you must banish him, sire. But then Mufasa, with his kind heart, he says, as long as I'm king, my brother will have a place here. And right as Taka says, well, right when Taka was about to say, my brother, I'm so sorry, at the sorry part, Mufasa cuts him off by saying, but I will never say your name again. I can't, I won't. But then Taka says, then call me Scar, so I will never forget what I have done. And then so that's the day, from that day forward, Taka was dead and Scar was born. And then he's greeted to Pride Rock, and then that's the scene where Mufasa becomes king. And as Mufasa walks up towards Pride Rock, Taka, aka Scar, is looking at him angrily inside the cave of Pride Rock, or the den of Pride Rock. And then that's when the story ends, but then Kiara was like, I wish I could have met my grandfather. So then Rafiki tells Kiara to look up into the heavens and he will be watching upon you. He always lives in you. So that's when Kiara goes on top of the rock platform. Well, not Pride Rock, but this is because the cave where Rafiki was telling the story to Kiara, Timon, and Pumbaa is actually the same cave where Mufasa and Scar fought Kyros. So anyway, Kiara goes to the top of that cave, growling and roaring at the sky, where Mufasa roars back alongside her. And then, at that moment, Mufasa disappears, and Kiara is like, I don't want him to go. But then Rafiki assures Kiara that he lives in you. And at that part, Kiara sees Simba and Nala coming back home from the natural birthing grounds, where Kiara's greeted back with a big surprise, and Nala was like, Kiara, this is your new brother. And I was like, oh my god, is that who I think it is? I was like, holy shit, that has to be Kion, because for those who are kind of new to the Lion King universe, in the Lion King 2, we have only known Kiara is Simba's daughter, while sorry, I just got mixed up a little bit, because for those of you who don't know, Kiara is Simba's and Nala's daughter, while for those of you who are fans of the Lion Guard know that Simba also had a second son named Kion, and Kion is introduced in the TV show The Lion Guard, where the firstborn gets to be heir to the throne, while the secondborn is appointed to be leader of the Lion Guard. And so that's when, so back to the review. So anyway, Kiara says, I'll take care of you forever. And that's when she goes to tell her little brother about the story of a great king. And that's when the movie ends in black and we get the title Mufasa the Lion King. And surprisingly, there were no end credits. So that was the Mufasa movie. And honestly, I gave that movie a 4.5 out of 10 stars. So yeah. On stars, I give Mufasa a 4.4. On a rating of stars, I give Mufasa the Lion King a 4.5 out of 4.5. I cannot talk. On star reviews, I give Mufasa the Lion King a 4.5 stars out of 5. There we go. And on a scale of 1 to 10, I give Mufasa an 8 out of 10. Like, there are some things that could have been changed, but it weren't. Like, the biggest thing I did not like was the fact that Mufasa and Scar were not actually blood-related brothers, because in the original animated Lion King movie, Mufasa and Scar were actually brothers, but they just decided to change that up. And also, one other thing that bothered me was that, how are you going to tell this Lion King story in a live-action CGI story instead of doing it in 2D animation? Like, usually you would tell a story in a 2D or at least a 3D animation story first, and then turn that into a CGI remake. Well, it's not even a remake, because this is an original idea that was never introduced in the Lion King universe. But yeah, y'all get my point. So yeah, and with Sonic, on a scale of 1 to 10, that's an instant 10 out of 10, while in star rating, that's a 5-star rating. So Sonic has 5 stars, while Mufasa has 4.5 stars, And on a scale of 1 to 10, Sonic gets 10 out of 10, and Mufasa gets an 8 out of 10. So, yeah, that is my official review on both Sonic the Hedgehog 3 and Mufasa the Lion King. And hopefully you guys enjoyed this video. Damn, this video is about to be 55 minutes long. So hopefully you guys enjoyed this video. Damn, this has to be the longest video on my channel so far. Yeah, so hopefully you guys enjoyed this video. If you did, be sure to like, comment, and subscribe. And click the notification bell so you don't miss another video. And if you guys would like to see... Well, yep, there's no original video. So yeah, so make sure to like, comment, subscribe, and click the notification bell so you don't miss any new videos. And as of this recording, it is currently 1:57 in the afternoon. And last night on Friday, I was waiting for the new SML movie to come out, but I was like, what the hell? Where's the new video? Then I woke up this morning and there was still no new SML movie that came out. I was like, what the hell is going on? Did Logan forget that today was supposed to be a Friday, a filming day? But anyway, I'm guessing we're probably going to get a new SML movie tomorrow on Sunday. But anyway, with that being said, I will see you guys in the next video. Sorry. Until then, peace out.